All right. All right, everybody. We are a little bit early. Hello. Welcome back to this week's podcast, Everything Horses and More. I am Caroline Best of the Tao of Horsemanship. And I think, Sabrina, you are on the Facebook page. You are to my right, my lovely co-host, Sabrina Arbogast. Hi, everybody. So we're a little bit early just to make sure that we've got everything working correctly on our end, and it is miserably cold out and cloudy. We are supposed to get rain, so hopefully our internet, our satellite will not stop working. You just never know. But we are waiting for our guest speaker today, and her name is Tabitha. James-Kraan, and she is from the UK, Great Britain. We've got quite a few students from all over the world, but quite a few in the UK. And so we're just waiting for Tabitha to come on. So I'm just going to chit chat for a little bit with all of you. How's everybody doing? How is your week? Hi, Emily. Hi, Joanne. Great to see. Hi, Diane, Becky. Hi, ladies. It's great to see you guys back every week. Thank you. I'm so honored, and I appreciate, all of our support and loyalty from all of you guys. It's really, I don't know what the right word is. I wouldn't say interesting or funny. Maybe interesting is a better word for me. How each week when we have these live podcasts and they go out to the Tao of Horsemanship Facebook page, so there's thousands of followers. And we do posts so that people are aware through our social media that we're going to be having these. But each week it's the same group of people, which is amazing. I love it. And why aren't we getting more people? So that's something we have to look into this year. And we get a few new people, newbies, but I don't understand why we don't get at least 10% so if we have 5,000 followers, why aren't we getting 10% of that being new people? So that's something we're definitely going to be looking into. And it's, as a marketing person myself, I'm not an expert, believe it or not. But I know enough to do my own. So that's why I'm going to be, as you guys heard last year, we were testing a lot with our online courses, and this year we're refining things, and with that comes, oh good, here's Tabitha. With the refining of our marketing, we are also, let me get her on here. Yay! We are also tweaking a lot of stuff too.
Hey, hello.
Yep, hi Tabitha.
Hi.
Hello, you're here.
I'm here. This is
fabulous. So welcome. It is so exciting. Just make sure you stay really close to your computer.
Yeah.
If you see, I've got a microphone right here.
Okay, no problem. That's fine. Yeah.
That'll help the yeah, that's much better. Thank you, love. So yes, everybody, this is Tabitha James-Kraan, and today's podcast is going to be What the Revolution Has Given to Me and My Horses by Tabitha. So I'm going to go ahead, and I was just small talking before everybody got here, and I'm going to go ahead and stop talking, but I'm going to introduce you, obviously, Tabitha. So tell us a little bit about you, Tabitha. Where are you? I've mentioned everyone that you're in the UK, Great Britain.
That's right. Yes.
What you do. Yep. What you do, where you live, your journey with horses, and then your journey with me, when you found me.
Okay, cool.
The mastery.
So I'm based in a beautiful part of the middle of England called the Cotswolds. So it's a really beautiful rural area of the countryside here. I've lived in this area for most of my life, so I've been very blessed to live in such a beautiful area. And I grew up. Well, actually, my work. an organic pioneer. So my whole world is all about natural living and natural lifestyle and organic hair products. I'm actually an organic hairdresser by trade, and I have an organic hair care range which I sell around the world, including in the States, actually.
Yes.
And
yes,
in
and
terms
please
of,
leave a leave a link, or we will leave a link, or send us a link to your website again, so that we can advertise and promote beautiful products, you guys. Beautiful, beautiful.
Oh, that's so nice. Thank you. So yeah, and I was somebody who grew up around horses. So I got my first pony when I was 11. I was the eldest of 5 children. We had a very sort of outdoor lifestyle, and my parents decided when I was 11, and I had two younger siblings at the time, and that it would be a good thing to introduce us to ponies. And so we started on that journey. We've got a couple of ponies, and before we knew it, we had a whole suddenly decided they were, and started buying up other horses and ponies. So Arabs, and it was a really, it was beautiful because my parents weren't horsey. It was very much a journey of discovery, I would say. So, you know, we learned how to stay on by falling off, and natural balance. And we didn't go through this sort of formal pony club method of riding. It was very much just really working with the ponies. And yeah, I guess even then I was sort of understanding about relationship, because it was the only way I could only learn from the horses, right? At that point, I didn't really have other humans telling me and showing me what to do. And that went on. So from the age of 11 through till the age of about 17, 18, I had my own, continued on that journey really, and just lived and breathed my ponies. It was my life. It kept me kind of really hooked as a teenager, and I just absolutely loved that life. And also, do you know, I always think as well, I've become an entrepreneur. I've worked hard my whole life, and I know that actually that was just such good groundwork, you know, like such a good grounding, that life of looking after these beautiful creatures, and, you know, what they gave back to me in terms in the relationship with the amount of work I put into them. It really did set me up for life, you know. I have a lot of gratitude for those early days.
It builds character when we have a responsibility for another being other than ourselves. And I think especially as young kids, it does so much for our confidence, our self-esteem, feeling connected. You know, when you go through teenage years, we all feel so disconnected, right? With our own bodies, hormones, you know, social pressure. You know, all of a sudden we're looking at ourselves and we care about how we look. Whereas kids, you don't. You know, I always call it like you're untainted as a child. You know, you don't have that level of self-awareness or false. It's like a false consciousness where you're consumed with how you look. You know, and so it's really cool. Horses do a lot of grounding. They definitely bring a lot of the best out of us.
Absolutely. And then I got to the sort of 17, 18, and I got to start working as a hairdresser, and, you know, boys and everything, life changed. And I kind of left my horse life for some reason, and just started to get busy with life. And I ended up then having a huge gap. I would occasionally meet with my old horse friends and go riding, you know, as you would call trail riding. I'd go hacking out and hire a horse for the day or something. But that was as much as it has happened really. And my husband, we had 2 sons, and I was determined that they were both going to ride because of the experiences I'd had. So I always took them as young children to riding schools. And then as they grew up and got bigger, I was like taking them, thinking, with the horses they're riding, or the ponies they're riding now, are almost getting big enough for me to ride too. So one day I decided to buy the pony that my son was riding at the riding school, which was how I got my first horse, because he was 11 too, but he's a giant, and at 11 he was already very tall. So we bought a 15-1 Gypsy Vanner, a Gypsy Cob, Well, you in the States, I think you call them gypsy vanners.
Yeah.
We call them gypsy cobs, but she's a beautiful, beautiful horse. And yeah, she was big enough for me to ride too. So it was just wonderful. We got her home and we both fell in love with her, and we had the most amazing year, the two of us just kind of reconnecting and refinding.
Oh,
That was around 7.5 years ago now, I think. She has been a really interesting horse to learn, because she is extremely dominant, extremely powerful. She's a real sort of, as she was quite young, she was only 4 when I bought her. And her journey of growing up herself and becoming, she was always in with other mares, turned out with other mares, and she was always at the bottom of the hierarchy. So she would be like, well, I'm not being below you as well. So the relationship was really interesting right from the outset with her. A year later, with bringing her into our lives, a year later, I decided actually I needed to be riding too. So it wasn't enough to have that my son was riding, because when we went out, I was on a bicycle. Like, no, actually, I need to be on a horse too. So I started to look at who I could find, and I ended up buying an off-the-track thoroughbred. So I went in the complete opposite direction. Completely stupid idea in theory. And I went to see this horse, and it was just so beautiful and so majestic. I fell in love, and it was just instant love at first sight. I couldn't leave without saying, yes, I've got to have this horse. And I thought she was a learning curve. Yes, with him, it started, a new journey started in a completely different way. He was exciting, like my Arabs were exciting as a child. And that's what I was really to unravel was he had quite a trauma in his racing day. So he was still only 4 when I took him on. So he was already off the track at 4 years old. So he only actually raced once, and he'd had such a traumatic time. It was he literally, as soon as he met me and realized that I was listening, everything came out. I just got, the emotional trauma just really started to unravel and appear to me. I ended up on the floor quite a few times. And I started to really understand and respect what I was taking on to a whole new level. And this was the point at which I found you, because I started to realize that I was like, okay, I need to look for help here. Where do I go? And I think also I would say, I should step back slightly. At that point, maybe the point that I started with my mare, I realized, so a year before, I would say, I found you, I was at that point starting to recognize that I didn't really fit, but having come back into horses, I didn't really fit into the traditional British, the traditional English way of riding, because my experiences as a child had been very informal and had been very experiential. And, I'd learned, as I say, I learned from the horses, I learned through natural balance. So then to suddenly be in this I was surrounded by people who were eventing and dressage and doing very formal riding. And I was just like, whoa, this just does not feel right to me. I it was magnificent what they were doing, but that wasn't how I felt about what I was doing. And it wasn't really what I wanted. So I saw this thing called natural horsemanship, and I thought, that's me. That's who I am. That must be right for me. Yes. So that really kind of opened the door of looking alternatively at what was out there. And I went down the Pirelli route for a while. I looked at lots and lots of everything out there, basically. I just looked at what was out there and who I could learn from. And I think I would say I started to learn from the cowboys. And I found it fascinating because I loved the fact that they took partnership. and I loved the language that they were using, and I loved this whole idea of relationship, and that this could be something that we could do together, the horses and I. So I was really drawn to that, and I that really challenging. It wasn't still sitting right for me, which is why I was still searching. And that's when I then found you, because suddenly there was this language of connection and this language of thinking about spirituality. And I think my personal journey at that point was also heading that way, deeper. So at that point in time, I think it became apparent that it was like I'd learned from the cowboys, but now I'd met the Indian. I mean that in the sort of the deeper sense, it's like you just felt so connected to in such a deep spiritual way to the horses. It was like you were doing something completely different to anyone else I could see. I'll pause there. And it was so exciting.
No, it is completely different. Oh, well, good. Well, thank you. Did you start with the off the track thoroughbred course that I offered, or did you start with the mastery membership? I can't remember.
With the off the track thoroughbred, yeah. But I think in the beginning I was watching lots of your things on YouTube as well. I was just endlessly watching hours and hours of your material, really. And then I'd just go and try and play. And then I realized that it was something I could sign up for. So that's when I then did the off the track thoroughbred training. And then I've gone on since to join the mastery membership. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. I remember the OTTB. I remember that. Yeah. And that is really, the OTTB course that I offer is, it's obviously not the step-by-step that the mastery membership is, but they all learn the exact same things that you all are doing in the mastery membership. So that was a really good course.
It was amazing.
To just break out years ago, and break. Yeah. Yes.
I'm surrounded by thoroughbreds actually, and so it was.
No, go ahead, talk. Yes.
I'm surrounded by thoroughbreds, and it was wonderful to not all off the track ones though, but it was just lovely to see the different personalities and the different types that you were working with, the different body shapes, the different biomechanics, and just really understanding their movement. And it was a really, really fantastic course, because it gave me such insight into really how to work with mine. Yeah,
good. That's awesome. And then that led you to the mastery. Yes.
I don't have a round pen. So the work I've done with my horses, so my Liberty work is really challenging, but it's been fantastic to have been able to kind of work with them and be able to work in that space without a round pen. It kind of presented a new problem, but I'm like, well, this is what I've got, so we just have to go with that. And well, that's just another thing to throw in there. But in working really deeply with the connection, that element of it, and the relationship and the partnership that I have with the horses, because of the way I've had to work, has just given us, it doesn't matter that we're not in a round pen. We can still, we can work on 12-meter circles, we can work on 20-meter circles in a wide open space. And like you would do around your round pen, I've seen you do that many times, and your team do that many times. It was lovely to kind of like no boundaries, to know.
Well, let's talk about that in a minute. Yeah, let's talk about that. That's a good point that you.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, hold on. I know that we're getting a lot of, I'm sorry, I apologize to everybody all the time. There's a lot of delays and garbled because the internet isn't so great here. So I apologize, you guys, as good as I can get. But yeah, Tabitha, let's talk about that, because a lot of people ask me, when they join the mastery membership, do I need a round pen? And you know, the round pen has a lot of purpose and a lot of meaning. Most of all, it's very challenging to work with horses in a big open space, especially in the beginning. And I want to hear how you've done it. I want everybody to hear how you've done it. But I'm all about setting you and the horse up for success. So even if you don't have a round pen, like I mentioned in the spirituality course, and I talk more about it in the second course of the mastery membership, how to design a small space though. You know, if you have limited funds, or using a paddock area, or sectioning off a pasture where you just have one end of it with tape. But it's you know, for most people, it's impossible to begin this work in a big space, especially if you've got really traumatized horses that want nothing to do with us. And the minute we put pressure on them, whether it's our mind, our intention, or our actions, you know, they're out of here. And if they've got an acre or 2 acres or more, it's impossible. Yeah. So explain to everybody how you went about developing the level of connectivity. And each of your horses are going to be different. So, you know, who was the easiest, who was the most challenging, and how long did it take, and what was that all about?
Well, I'll just quickly bring in a third horse that I then went on to get before I then I can, so if I reference the differences, you'll understand why. So having my thoroughbred, the damage with him was so extreme. I had even just, I continued on for, he's now 10. So I've been going with him for like 6 years. And my falls were quite extreme. I was in hospital a couple of times, and, you know, I decided that I would just hold back with the riding. We actually unraveled some physical issues as well that were really hard to find. And I had to go through a lot of vets and a lot of team to actually discover all of that. But we did get there. We did work through those things. I won't go into detail, but we got him physically better. And it was at the point that we were in the rehab stage from that period, actually, and he'd been on box rest for a long time. He was needing to work slower. So that was a great point at which I was able to bring him into the big open school and work in the oblong, as it were. I didn't want to work him on circles at that point. So it was actually helpful to have me sort of softly driving him and walking him around the school to start with, and then building up really, really slowly over time. But it was to his benefit to walk and to stretch and to really sort of work on his physical biomechanics, really, and stretching him out and keeping that going to begin with. And then I took the decision not to ride him myself, because I brought in a rider who rode him for me, somebody who was very experienced with off the track, a male rider who'd been a jockey, but a very sensitive male rider. And he sat on Jack and said to me, on my thoroughbred, and said, you know what, I have never felt fear in a horse like this horse. The second you sit on him, you almost feel butterflies in your stomach. It's physical, that it enters you, his stress. It's really extreme. And at that point I decided, you know what, I'm not going to ride for a while. I'll know when he's ready for me to get on, he'll tell me. And that's, you know, we are kind of getting at that point now, actually. Interesting, but I'll come to later. But that was this, I decided that actually let's just work on everything else. And if we can get that really, really strong and the trust so good, then I know that will just flow in later on. But meanwhile, I decided that I needed to ride more horse. So I decided to get another horse, hence the third one. And that was, where do somebody who was somewhere potentially between the two, you know. So I wanted more than the cob. I didn't want such a heavy horse. So I kept looking, and I ended up finding a beautiful oversized Connemara, who was a dressage horse, and he also came with a bit of trauma, which I wanted. I didn't want to find somebody who you know, who was push button and ready to go. I wanted still to be able to work on the relationship. And I'm coming on to the Liberty with this, answering this bit of the question, I promise. But I was really determined when I went to meet him. I was determined that actually I wasn't going to ride him. I promised myself the next time I get a new horse in my life, I'm not going to just jump on, do what I do, just do what a rider would do and expect the horse to keep up with me. I would love the opportunity. It's almost like, starting with a new baby. I wanted to have the opportunity to start fresh, and for his first experience of me to be that I was a different human to what he'd been used to, and particularly because he came with some trauma again. He was being ridden in quite a strong way. He's only 7 when I took him on, and he was really getting quite advanced at dressage already, but I believe he was being pushed too hard and he was being ridden in much too strong in the mouth. He was really overworking in his body, and that was evident in the shape of his body. And the issue, he was having issues where he was shooting forward all the time, and the rider was losing confidence because he's a strong, he's a native breed. He's got a lot of power in his body, and he was very challenging for her to handle. So she, in her wisdom, had taken him to a natural horsemanship trainer who was a sort of an Australian style trainer who was using quite strong methods to work him and to then try and kind of change his attitude to things. So there was a lot going on there without being disrespectful. And I could see that because of what I've experienced from my training with you and from following you. I could really understand a lot of what was going on, and I could look at him and see where these problems were coming from and trust my instinct with that too. So I really felt like, I am not going to just be another human that's telling him what to do. So they thought I was mad. I had a challenging experience getting them to sell him to me because they were like, we need to know that you can ride this horse. I can ride this horse, but I'm not going to ride this horse.
Oh my gosh.
So that happened. I got there and I got him hurt. We out and we just worked on our connection, and I was just really tried to be, I'm not being woolly or too, but I really wanted it to be a very that I could show up as a human that was going to be different to him. And immediately we bonded really, really well. We started to play.
Yeah.
We played together.
I don't mean to interrupt you. Hold on for 1 second though. I don't mean to be disrespectful by interrupting you, but you've got so many good points I just want to point out.
No, please.
And I love that you took the time to present an easy way for this horse to want to get to know you. Yeah. We're so naturally linear. I say this often, it's just the way as a predator mindset, and we just go after, get it done. We look at the final goal, the destination, and forget the process or the journey. And my favorite question, there's 2 things I always say. What's in it for the horse? Meaning whatever you're doing, what's in it for the horse? What does the horse want? What does the horse need from you? What is going to motivate this horse to even be interested in us? And then get to know your horse. Get to know your horse before you start teaching them or training them or rehabilitating them or anything. Take the time to just get to know them and then figure out what really motivates this particular horse, because we all know that horses are social creatures. They thrive on relationships, number one. That is like the number one motivator. I'm telling you that, believe me, it's true. I know a lot of people don't talk about that. It's not food. Their hierarchy of needs is safety, and it's an emotional safety. It's feeling emotionally safe with us and being able to connect with us just like they would their own herd members that they choose, that they get to choose. And so
that is the most profound thing. That is the most profound thing I've learned from you, Caroline. I would say that is the number one most important thing that I learned from you. That exact point, because it changes everything about how you approach the relationship. Understanding that.
Up here. Yeah, it's your whole intention. And then you bring that energy, that that intentional energy is powerful. You know, we begin with that in my program, and you bring that mindset and that frequency that your horse can feel. Because if this isn't clear, if your intention isn't, you know, your intention is controlled by your heart, as I always talk about, your emotions control everything. So how you feel about something shows up in the way you think, the way you speak, and the way you act. And the horse sees all of this and understands this congruency. You know, one of the weird things, for the lack of a better word, I'm going to bring up is in this particular conversation, because it still baffles me in a beautiful way, is I believe, in my experience personally and with thousands of students and horses and seeing relationships, predominantly horses, people that choose horses, predominantly, like I'll say 99% of the time, when you choose a horse, it is divine intervention. There is a divine reason why you chose that horse. And I also believe that horses choose us. And this is a whole woo-woo-y conversation that I'm more than happy to expand on at another time. But that I also believe, I believe they're here for a reason. And it's a deeper spiritual conscious reason that goes beyond our level of understanding, because it's our limited level of consciousness. And so, you know, I can look at all the horses I've ever owned and still own. I hate saying that. They're my family that belong to me. Belong to me in my heart. Everyone is here for a reason, and how they happened, I happened to find them, or they happened to come into my life. I mean, if it wasn't for me, they wouldn't be alive. Most of them, they would have been killed, or, you know, so when we think about that 99% of the time, whether we choose the horse or the horse magically chooses us when they're thousands of miles away from us and we see a video and we have to buy that horse, what happens is there's such a deep connectedness and in a way, when I talk about what motivates the horse, this is where I'm headed, is we've got to understand the depth of what horses need and what they're looking for. And often, and it's such an energy frequency that it can travel. I mean, I believe in telepathy. I have it with my horses. When I travel, they know when I'm coming home. A half an hour before I'm coming home, like the dog knows you're coming home, my horses will know it. And it doesn't happen often because I don't travel that much anymore. And it's just, I don't mean to be rambling. I'm trying to find the articulation for this specific thing I'm talking about that is so profound. And the more we allow ourselves to just accept that it's real, we may not even really understand, like I'm having a hard time articulating it, but it's such a profoundness that I've been living with for years, that I understand it, and I relate to it on a very intuitive level, and in a way that I don't need science to measure it, and I don't need anybody to prove that it's right or wrong. It shows up all the time, and it shows up with all of you. When you look at your horses, every one of you, I guarantee 99% of you, just the group that's here today, ask yourself this. When you look at your horse, how does that horse represent the innermost aspects and areas of your person, of who you are? I think I have chills talking about this. I think each one of us can take a look at all the horses we have and go, oh my gosh, this horse represents this side of my personality, or this deep, dark ache in my soul. And how the hell we find them and how the hell they find us is just amazing. And that's that deep reflective work that I offer. If you are consciously ready, it will organically appear in the program. So a lot of us come into the program very linear, very cognitive, very cerebral. And you can even think you're spiritual and it's still very cognitive. But the program teaches you how to live a spiritual life on a much deeper level and in a relationship that relates to the horses. And, you know, you're sensory aware, you're intuitive. That's the spiritual aspect, the somatic experience, you know, the sensory aware. But I don't mean to, I just had to go, I mean, I know you get it. It's like you're talking completely about all of this, and and yeah, it's just mind blowing to me. And again, what connects us to our horses is often far deeper than we are ready to even understand or comprehend or acknowledge. And it's such a deep, absolute reflection of who we are. And it goes back to me saying this that I believe they're aliens. And horses are from another universe, another portal, and that they were put here on this earth to help us with our humanity, to help us be better people, better versions of ourselves. I've said this often. I've said it often in some of my earlier webinars on the Mastery Membership private Facebook group. But I'm now coming out of the closet with with this whole theory of mine. Now you really know who I am and what I think and what I feel. But my feet are still firmly planted on this earth, you guys. I'm very grounded and very, very much into, as much science as possible. But there's just something science cannot support the spiritual realms and spiritual aspects. And we have to accept that there's things that just feel good, and they change the algorithms within us, and they change the algorithms within the horse, and they produce positivity and endorphin and re-regulate and self-soothe, and there's so much good. So yeah, sorry. Thank you for bringing that out of me.
I know, my pleasure. In my work, these guys are my team. They totally mirror back and strengthen everything I am in the world, and for exactly the reasons that you have just articulated. They're on this journey. They're helping me with my purpose. They're helping me with my goals, and that's why for me, actually, it's really important. I mean, I talk about my horses all over my hair business feed globally because they're such an important part of what I do. I want the world to know that I am who I am, and I do what I do because of them. They power up everything to a whole new level, and it's definitely the timing of when they came back into my life. It was all purposeful. It was all part of the plan. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It is part of the plan, the bigger picture. And, we don't have to ride horses to enjoy horses. No, we don't have to do anything mechanical. I'm not reinventing the Mastery Membership but we are in a major marketing overhaul. And it's a good thing right now as far as defining the Mastery Membership. Like, there's going to be a new logo that's coming out, a new tagline, a new landing page, all new marketing. But it doesn't change the program. It's just me being able to finally, I think, narrow down exactly all that it encompasses without being diarrhea of the mouth. So, because in marketing, it's quick messaging. It's bullet points. It's just getting things, simplifying and being, more clear, which is challenging for me sometimes. So long story short, this whole relationship with horses is so profound and takes on such a different level in all the rehabilitation that I've ever done. And I was very conscious of this, and I could cry talking about it, but not because I feel bad, but because I'm so fucking glad that I took the time in all these years of rehabilitating horses, that I knew that most of the time I was rehabilitating them within a certain time frame, because that's what I was getting paid for, and that's all that the person had, to get this done. And I did an amazing job in that short period of time. But the point I'm making is there shouldn't be, when you have a rescue horse or a horse that needs to be rehabilitated, there should be no time. There should be no time limit on, oh my God, unless you got to handle them. Granted, we're going through this whole little 2 weeks, this little Mustang will be in the halter by Friday. But it's going to be a mind-blowing organic experience that we've filmed. In 2 weeks, this little wild guy is going to be in a halter. It's going to be beautiful. But that's also because I know what I'm doing, and I set it up, and it's going to fall into place. But the point I'm making is, you get a horse that's struggling, and we just want to attack that. horse. We want to attack that struggle. We got to get it done. We got to prove to ourselves or to someone else that we can ride it. We can handle it. We can make it do something. And I'm saying, hey, now wait a minute. Every fucking horse that I've ever worked with has had so much to show me and teach me. And even though I was under the clock, I never compromised that horse. I was the only one that ever handled it, groomed it, cooled it down, bathed it. I did everything. Even when I had my students around me all the time, that was my personal project, all of those horses. And it is that relationship, that level of connection, that conversation, I wouldn't want anyone else to take that experience away from me or that horse. And I'm giving that to you guys. Look at this differently. The Mastery Membership Program is how I rehabilitate and train horses and how I train you to train horses. Yeah. We get that. It's masterful. But you don't have to go to the depths of what it teaches. You could have every time, like everybody that talks to me on these webinars through the Facebook group every week, and you've got these challenges, it's your fault. It's your ego. I granted your horses are challenging, don't get me wrong, but you're looking at it all wrong. You're looking at it all wrong. What's besides having to get a halter on a horse for the right reasons, because you've got to be able to handle him or whatever, you got to have that. But other than that, yeah, getting to the lunging and getting to this magical place of embodiment, being able to ride as one. Oh, I'm not taking away how fucking phenomenal that is. But you got to have the right mindset going into it. And nothing should get in the way of your relationship or your ability to stay connected to that horse.
Exactly, because
Yes,
that's the transformational stuff. When you can put that first, that's when the transformation happens in you, and the true transformation happens in your horse. Yeah, exactly.
That is the essence of it.
Yeah, it becomes more important than anything, and there is no time. I love, like with mine, with all three of mine now, there is no time. I have no timeline at all. It's what happens. I deal with the horse that shows up. We do all kinds of different things. Today, I got my thoroughbred out, and we're having horrible weather here in the UK. It's been a horrible winter. We've either had so much ice that we can't get them out, or the mud is knee deep and it's miserable for them. So they've been way more than we want. But then it's really important that we play when they come out. It's really important that we play. And my thoroughbred loves to play a game where he will run over and knock over maybe like a corner jump end, a plastic jump end. He'll knock it over on the floor and he strikes it and we count. And then I have to do the same and I count, and then he'll do the same back. And it's crazy. And I'm like, oh my gosh, did anyone see that? He got it right again. It's just, and he gets so excited, and like when he's bored of whatever else we're doing, he'll just run over to the thing, knock it over and say, I want to play this game now. Like, okay, we'll play this game again, and then we need to go back and do some work. But he knows I'll listen.
That's beautiful. So you're in the moment. You're in the moment though. And so that's why I love that we're having this conversation, because it's one thing, to hear it from me, and it's another thing to hear it from another student who's saying, yeah, man, I want to do certain things with my horses via the program, but I allow them to express themselves and show me what they need, and I'm in the moment. So I'm flexible, things can change. That's a conversation, guys. That's what a conversation with your horse is all about. It's like us having a conversation. Present. Yes.
Yeah. Being present and really hearing them, because that's when they show up. They know that you're listening to that degree. That's when they show up, I think. And that's, I may say, no, come on, not today. I need you to do this. And he'd be like, I might get a little temper tantrum, and I get some exuberance show up and a bit of flashy jumping around to go, well, I don't want to do that. And then I'm like, oh, all right then.
I don't want to. I know. And I'm like, I love you. I got to do the work. I love you just a little bit, and then we'll do what you want to do. And that's a mutual partnership. That's consensual, you guys. But, and you know, consensual can have a negative connotation, but as a positive connotation, it's mutual, where you both are in this mutually. Whatever this is, this connection and this conversation.
But in answer,
what's in it for the horse? What's
exactly,
in it for the horse?
exactly. And in answer to, you know, how I do liberty, in answer to your earlier question with my open space, that is how I do liberty. Because I allow, and because I listen, and because I'm present and I see what comes, and when I connect with that and I give them their opportunity to, okay, so, you know, we're in the school and he's like, no, I want to roll. No, we can't roll in here. It's not allowed. We're not rolling. So we have to go through this thing first. We then get to, well, in that particular space, it's just, you know, because of flattening off for other horses and water levels and things like that, it's just not in that space. He's not to roll. There were plenty of other places he can roll, but not in here. And but we first of all have to have that conversation before we get to, you know, the next bit. But it, you know, that's just how it is. But then I get this wonderful work because he knows, and then he wants to show off to me, and he wants to do his best stretchy walk, or his best whatever it is, or his best soft canter. And but the other thing is that what I learned is
let's talk about that. Yeah, hold on 1 second. Hold on for 1 second. That's called pleasing. Horses want to please you.
Yeah.
Horses want to please. They are followers. They want to please. And they, believe it or not, they do have a little bit of ego. Yeah. Some of them more than others. But yes, sorry, go ahead.
Well, in getting this, because I've got such relaxation, you know, for me, the biomechanics changes, the tension shows up in the body, the brace shows up in the body when they're unhappy, or they're scared, or there's fear, or there's something else. If I'm more important than anything else, which I learned from you, that's with me. If I'm engaged, fully engaged, we've got this full connection, I get complete softness in the body. I never have brace. I never have that because it doesn't show up. If maybe something happens and I get a spook for a moment, so I've lost them for a second, then I don't carry on with the work. I get them back first. When I've got the connection back, then we go on with the work, and then I still get the softness. So I get the lovely fluidity in their body, and I get so I'm never needing to work with that tension and brace because I put that bit first. I think, you know, it's fascinating for me to understand. I've played with it and I've got it wrong sometimes, of course. And then I go, that's why that didn't work. That's why that didn't look nice. You know, stop, rethink. What do I need to do? Change me and he'll change. And there we go. And we're back again.
Yes. There you go. I love it. That's beautifully put. That is just beautifully put. Thank you, Tabitha. I'm just looking at some of the questions. Oh my God, that's just, you've nailed so many points that I know everyone hears me say often and over again. And it's very refreshing. I'm not taking away the importance of anyone else, or, you know, don't make this personal to anyone, but you guys you are very refreshing, Tabitha, and enlightening. Thank you so much for sharing all of this, and in such exuberance and excitement, and thank you. Oh my gosh.
It's just such a pleasure. Thank you. I'm so grateful to you, and I'm so grateful to have found you.
Thank you.
It spoke to my soul, and it's definitely, you know, the relationship that I have with all three of my horses now is just, you know, I have so much gratitude to you for that, because it is because I see things differently. So it's just been a beautiful thing. And you know, my latest horse, we've only been together since July last year, and I mean, already the depth of connection that we have. I mean, within 2 months. We were working at Liberty in such a lovely way. He'd never done that before. You know, and
can you videotape some of that?
Yeah.
Would you videotape some of that and share it on the Facebook page?
Yeah.
Please.
Yeah.
I mean, you guys, the mindset is just, in your attitude. And, you know, many of us have our own personal trauma, and we come into, I think the question here too, and I don't know anything about your personal background, Tabitha, it would be interesting to know. And even if you did have a lot of trauma as a young kid, I mean, well, you mentioned, you know, your life sounded, I know you talked about horses and everything, but we didn't get into any depth. But my point is when we have a lot of personal trauma, that shapes us completely, unfortunately, and it shapes our perspectives. It skews us. We, you know, the law of attraction, we end up, I'm speaking from my own personal experience here too. We end up attracting the same energy fields. And so we gravitate towards rescuing animals because they're victims and we feel like a victim. And it's this constant, unfortunately, and it's a negative, it's just this constant perpetuation of this cycle of being and thinking and feeling that is not good. And how do we break that cycle? You know, because a lot of my students have a lot of challenges with their horses. And I tell them all the time in our coaching calls, it starts with you. It is your mindset and your attitude. But I need to clear my chakras. I need to do better at this. And I'm like, it will come in time. You can't focus on that. You have to trust the process. The process is me in the work, and that I've set these exercises up. If you need the step-by-step, some of you don't need all those step-by-steps, it sounds like, because you're very intuitive, and like we are all intuitive, but you listen to your intuitive better, and your intuitive, from what I hear, Tabitha, guides you more closely and better than most. And so most are so stuck in that story and you can rewrite your story, people, but we're stuck in that story. And then we bring that story to our horses, and they already have their own story, and it's not a good story. So again, you guys, you know, you got to hit rock bottom. When is enough enough? And you say, you know what, I need to change. I'm sick of being stuck here with my horse. I need to change my horsemanship. Well, change you first. It starts with you. How many times have I told you guys, and I need to write a book about this, but how many times have I shared my personal experiences coming back into horses and realizing that most of the obstacles, especially with Legend, my little Arab, most of those obstacles were my personal obstacles. They were mine personally. And they were either prohibiting or inhibiting me from getting any further ahead. But until we can step back and look at ourselves and what's motivating us, what's motivating us? What's motivating us?
My original
so
journey.
Thank you for that.
My original journey with my thoroughbred was totally that my ego was in the way. I wanted to just get on this horse and I wanted to look as good as with these beautiful, this really magnificent looking horse, like wanted to get on and just do that. And of course he quickly showed me, like, that is not going to happen, lady. And I think it was, you know, he was loud and clear to me at that point, which was why I had to stop and think, okay, yeah, we've got to change how this is working, and just taking it right back.
Kept getting hurt too.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, you kept getting hurt, and like you said, you ended up in the hospital. And so let's put it, you know, we're cursed with egos. That's the human race, the species, the human species. Horses don't have egos like we do. And that's also the third layer of our brain that, you know, I get all of that. But how do you have a healthy ego if that's even possible? And, you know, it's like being authentic and honest and vulnerable and raw and real with your horse is admitting all the things that you don't like about yourself and being aware of, yeah, you know, right now, this is who I am. And I don't like who I am. But, you know, and that was a journey for myself, and especially with Legend. It was like, you know, and my dad, blessed that my father was alive at the time and with me all the time. And all Dad would have to say is two things. Well, the apple doesn't fall too far from the tree, Caroline, meaning Legend's mirroring me.
Yeah.
And Dad was old school, gentle, beautifully gentle, never raised a hand to a horse. But he was also traditional, but he was very interested in natural horsemanship. And when I took my, also started out with Pirelli many, many years ago and took that journey, my father was right there with me. So, Dad got it. And just him saying that and just sitting there and watching and not saying anything else was enough to it's like drop the mic on me. I was like, I hated it. My pride got in the way. I was frustrated. I was too linear, but I didn't realize it at the point or at the time, but it kept happening and happening and happening with Legend until finally, it's like the definition of insanity. When are you going to wake up, half a year later and say, hey, we keep doing the same thing. I keep expecting a different result. Yeah. Something had to change with me. It wasn't changing what I was like technique. It was what changed inside of me. And that just changed everything. Yeah. And that was just mind blowing to me. Absolutely mind blowing.
And just for me, it was stopping and seeing him as another being. So my thoroughbred, recognizing him as learn this together. I have to completely be present, and I have to hear everything that you're telling me and notice every little detail of what you're trying to say to me, and make sure that I'm doing the work so I know how to communicate with you and I know how to notice and read your communication back to me. It was like it got that basic. So my falls almost made me stop dead in my tracks and go, no, stop, listen, just be here and watch and see what he wants to tell me. And then and that was wonderful when I first found you, was the whole idea of the pick me up. And if your horse wants you to get on, the horse will show you and pick you up. Well, he wasn't doing that, funnily enough. and I spent probably a year then working on getting to a point where he was prepared to do that. Then once I got on, there were other problems, but nonetheless, we reached that he was mentally and emotionally ready to accept me. And that then started a new phase of the journey, but then it still wasn't right because there were other things I needed to listen to, that he was hurting. He had, things going on in his body that I needed to address. So then we went back again, but it's like we've kept going on these cycles and circles, but I kept stopping and re-listening, and I'm not there yet with him. He's my life. I gonna feel when I'm galloping off into the sunset on him. It will happen, but I don't care how long that takes. I really don't care how long that takes, and it feels like such a privilege to be on this journey together.
Yes, that's a great point that you brought up. You guys have to put in perspective that this mastery membership program, it is a result of everything that I share with you, all of my learning journey. And as I always say, there are no mistakes during your learning. There are always opportunities. It's a mistake what's the definition of insanity? You're not learning from it, but they are learning opportunities. And, the biggest thing that I can, what I'm hearing from you right now is you've experienced some amazing enlightened moments, more personal transformation. And what I want to impress upon the students that we have that I know are listening is this is phenomenal. And man, I'm feeding off of it with lots of excitement and connection with you, Tabitha. But don't miss the valuable points of the program is don't skip around. And, if you do slow down and you do need more help and assistance, the program is designed to give you that. And in a 2-year period, if you are committed to the program and you're doing the work necessary each week and on yourself, you can avoid, I hope, a lot of these learning opportunities, of falling off of, to me, the point of you guys, when you have permission to get on your horse, that's because everything has been developed to get you to that point. So there shouldn't be any regression.
No,
But now
sure.
you're ready to ride, and now you have to take what you've learned from the groundwork and the energy work and that transformation. It transfers. It's supposed to transfer right over into riding, but then your horse might have some triggers. So if you go slow enough, you'll, like you said, you'll be able to see the brace, feel the brace. Now, what do you bring back into your body, your relationship, your mindset that helps the horse feel safe again? So I hear you.
I hear you. No, that's
It's
really
quite a journey.
important. Yeah, but you're right. That's where I need to go next, is to work with you on that next steps really with him. I think also my the trauma of the falls, I had work to do with that too, of course. And part of starting my new relationship with my next to go on with such a horse, because going with my cob, that wasn't the same thing at all. That was something I could do consistently all the way through. But to be able to get back on and ride a real horse, such a powerful horse as Freddie, my newest horse, again, and have the confidence to just let that all flow. It's been a beautiful journey with him, and I ride him, and we do all sorts of things together now. We're out trail riding, and we can be on grass, and we can do lovely things together. I ride him bareback. Beautiful. I ride him bridleless. I'm doing all those things with him now, which is giving me, I feel like this spring now, I really want to now start working towards going back to riding with Jack as well, which will be...
Well, keep in mind too, yes, keep in mind, you guys, so listen, the Mastery membership is designed to the best of its ability to help you work through problems. And the third course is designed to help you work through all the problems that just generally are going to happen with this and that type of horse and this and that type of person. But the point I'm making, to be able to rehabilitate horses, and especially your traumatized off the track thoroughbred horse, it is a specialty. It is like going back, it's like getting your undergraduate degree, getting your master's degree, and working on your doctorate. Only when you are working on your doctorate, look how many years these take, your doctorate here in the States, that could be 8 years, your doctorate. Are you ready to specialize in rehabilitation truly, thoroughly? And that means you've worked with hundreds or thousands of horses, and you can clearly diagnose, identify problems, and you've got so many tools that you know exactly which one to pull out when. And I'm just letting you guys off the hook here, because most of us have damaged horses. Most of us have horses with tons of damage. And you raised your cob. Your cob was pretty pure, untainted at the age of 4. Then you get this 7-year-old dressage horse in the making that definitely has some baggage, but it's that thoroughbred off the track. Woo! That is just blown. And so give yourself some credit. It takes time. And I just wanted to validate that for all of you. While, I just don't beat yourselves up, you guys. They are so complicated emotionally, and you just, and so individual in their personalities. It takes time. Don't beat yourself up, all of you, and just go slow. And just, I try to, until you, I guess, experience it like you have, Tabitha, you were done with all those falls. I try to prepare you the best that I can so that you don't go through that. And I prepare you by telling you over and over again, go slow, don't skip around, don't move on to the next course or the next lessons. Go and take a look at everything, but don't move on to the next lesson, literally, until you know that you've got that one lesson pretty solid, and all the lessons before are building blocks. How solid are they? Because this program is designed to rehabilitate and then give the horse a foundation. It's designed to rehabilitate, because I know every horse is going to come in with problems, except for these young babies that hopefully don't. So it's designed to help you work through that with your horse. And as you're working through it and peeling away the layers and the triggers and discovering each other and what works, you're building a foundation organically, unconsciously. You're already building that foundation. Does that make sense?
It does.
It's pretty powerful.
Sense. Yeah. It makes total sense. Yeah. Very exciting.
All right, my dear. Well, we are just about out of time. Is there anything else you want to add? And you also, we need a link. We need to put a link up on this podcast. So please, maybe Sabrina can look. Well, Sabrina will do that. We'll just look you up and we'll put a link on the podcast for your beautiful products.
Thank you. And in the States, actually, there is Beauty Heroes based in California. They sell my products stateside too, beautyheroes.com. So that's also a great place. So I'll give you both. I'll send you links to both websites, both one that's native and also so that anyone that's interested can have a look at our global website as well. Thank you. Thank you so much for this opportunity. I'm so honored to meet you.
Well, I'm honored to have you. And, as I say to everybody, we can continue to have repeat guest speakers, anything profound that happens that you want to share, that you want to give out to the podcast world, because we reach more people through the podcast than we do Facebook, which blows my mind, but it's all good. So this isn't the end. This is just the beginning, because I want to be a part of all of your journeys, and you all, yes, are important. Yeah, you're important, and you need to share your experiences because it just brings us all together. Yeah. But is there anything else you want to add before we say goodbye? Anything else?
Oh, wow.
It's a pretty deep one. We talked about a lot of deep stuff.
We talked about so I would just say, yeah, I'm just so grateful that I have horses in my life again. And I know that it's a lifelong journey for me now. I won't ever, I have to have them in my life forever. And I will also continue to share my experience of what I believe is just so important for us all to realize. I do believe a revolution is necessary. I do believe that that we all must, that as you said earlier today, that it's so important to recognize that horses are here to teach us something. And the more of us that are listening, the more of us that are open to that, it's going to be a better place for all of us and for horses. This is a relationship that is supposed to be, and
yes.
And humanity has maybe forgotten that. And we need to go back to remembering how important this connection is and why they're here and what they have to teach us, because we can change a lot by just listening to them.
We can be better humans. They make us better people. That's the key. They make us better people. What we're striving to achieve with our horses on a very personal, transformative way also affects all of our relationships in life, and our perspective, and our attitudes and our mindset. So it's a whole full circle. Yeah, absolutely. Yep. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Namaste, my friend. Thank you. Thank you. Thank
Namaste. You. Thank you so much. And lovely to meet you too, Sabrina. Thank
all
you.
Right. Thank you. Yes. Yes. All right, everybody. That's all we got to say. Thank you, Tabitha. You can stay on. I'm just going to wrap this up, or you can sign off, my dear. Next week we have another guest speaker and a repeat guest speaker. Yay! We've got Lydia Kading Primavera next week. So Lydia is going to be talking about, this is Wednesday the 24th, resentments and self-centered fear and how it affects our self-esteem. Woo! We're going to be getting deep next week. So that's our podcast for next week, you guys. If you would like to take this personal journey with all of us, Lydia and me are going to be diving in deep. All right. So thank you, everyone. May you always be one with your horse. God bless you. Mwah. And bye-bye. Thanks again, Tabitha. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Till the next time.